So I've gone through a fair amount of the Nintendo 64 library, and of the games I've reviewed, I did like most of them. But before I did my top 10 favorite Nintendo 64 games list, I wanted to take a quick look at several games that I played, but didn't feel like doing full reviews for. So let's get started. First up we have 1080 Snowboarding, or however you're supposed to say that. This game is okay. There's nothing really wrong with it, and the controls seem fine, but I just couldn't seem to get the hang of it, and my interest ebbed away pretty quick. It's decent, but nothing special. Blast Corps, a game in which you blow stuff up. That's pretty much it. You have to destroy a bunch of buildings and structures in order to clear a path. The game doesn't tell you who or what you're blowing up, which does make things seem rather shady, but I could forgive dodgy ethics if it was a fun game, and it's really not. It's kind of amusing to see stuff blow up in a knocking over your little cousin's sandcastle kind of way, but it gets pretty dull pretty fast. Moving on. Body Harvest. This one is special. It feels like one of those amateur games that managed to get onto Steam, where the developer clearly had some good and creative ideas, but lacked the talent or resources to really make it work. It's not very good, but I'll give it points for trying, I guess. Full disclaimer, I didn't play it for very long, so if it does get a lot better later, then, well, I'm sorry, I don't know. But first impressions do matter, and if that's the best the game can do at the very start, no thanks. Bomberman 64. A cute little platformer where you blow stuff up. Unlike with Blast Corps, I'm fairly certain the things that you blow up here deserve it. Probably. The levels are a bit small, and the gameplay is rather simple, but it's got some nice music. I'd say it's worth having a look at, though ultimately I'd say it's nothing too special. Excitebike 64. Did you want to play a crappy version of F-Zero X with motorcycles instead of cars? If so, then this game has you covered. If you're expecting a good game, well, you're out of luck. It's disappointing because I did actually like the original Excitebike, and I was hoping that its leap to 3D would at least be passable, but unfortunately it's not really that good. Next, Mario Kart 64. I didn't care for the original Mario Kart, but its sequel, Mario Kart 64, is pretty good. Full disclaimer, I do have a tiny bit of nostalgia for this game, as I played it a lot in the waiting room at the orthodontist's office before checkups. It was the only part of those visits I liked. Braces suck. Now that I'm older and no longer have chunks of metal stuck to my teeth, I'm not quite as fond of Mario Kart 64, but it's still decently fun. Not sure how it compares to the other Mario Kart games though. On its own, it's still worth playing, especially if you have a friend or two. Mega Man 64. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I tried to give this one a chance. After all, I loved the older Mega Man games, and I thought surely there would be something to like about this one, but there's really not. Actually, I take it back. The starting premise is actually pretty promising. The world has been flooded, presumably after global warming got out of hand, and the handful of human survivors are forced to live on the few scattered lands that remain. Various groups of people called diggers explore the world and scavenge from the ruins of lost civilizations for power sources. One team of these diggers consists of the boy Rock and the girl Roll, the former also known as Mega Man. And so they set off on an adventure across the world, confronting various old robots and hazards as they try to find the power to help humanity. Sounds like a good game on paper, right? But the actual game we get is bad. Awkward controls, really dated graphics, bland, boxy, forgettable environments and enemies. It really falls short in just about every area. Oh, and the voice acting. God, the voice acting.
Phew. Nice timing, Roll.
Anytime, Mega Man.
It's okay, Roll. But I'm glad you showed up when you did.
All's well that ends well, right?
Gah, it hurts my ears just to listen to that. Anyone who complains about the Attack on Titan English dub after this can officially go screw themselves. Let's move on. Pilot Wing 64. I couldn't get the footage to work for this one. It's kind of like the first game, but a little different. It's pretty fun, I guess. I don't know what else to say. Cut to the next, and the last game I'll be looking at, Pokemon Snap. This one is actually pretty fun. I'm not as big into Pokemon as I was when I was younger, but I can still understand the appeal of the series, and there is something rather enjoyable about moving along a path and taking photographs of the different Pokemon you see along the way. The only real gripe I have is that Professor Oak is way too picky. Oh, you think the photo isn't good enough? Well, how about you go and do it yourself instead of getting a kid to do all of your work for you? So that's it for the N64 Roundup. Next time I'll be going over my personal favorite games for the system. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.